Welcome to Blackout for Relativity. In this video, we'll do a quick demo using regular expressions, or RegExes for short, in Blackout, covering a few common use cases. To begin, let's look at some helpful resources our team uses and talk about the important components that will be demonstrated by Cooper later in the video. Firstly, Blackout uses the .NET version of regular expressions. You'll find a link to read more about RegExes in the video description. As for testing, we recommend using RegExes 101. This is a great site to build your RegExes with live sample data and take advantage of the additional site resources before you run a Blackout project. Now, let's quickly touch on the important components for actually building your RegExes. These components will be seen later in the demo with Cooper. First are flags. These are high-level settings applied behind the scenes. These don't need to be added into the regex since Blackout actually sets 3 flags by default. The first is G, which stands for global. This flag makes sure that the regex doesn't stop after the first match on a term occurs. Next is M for multi-line, which allows matches on multiple lines. Last is I, which stands for case insensitive, and this allows matches with a case insensitive setting. Next, we have common tokens. These are building blocks of the syntax to match on wider ideas other than just specific text. A few commonly used tokens are \b, which matches word boundaries such as spaces, periods, or commas. For example, if used, it would help find a word or string as its own term that is not part of another word. We also have \w, which matches alphanumeric characters, which would be any letter A through Z or numbers 0 through 9. Next is \d, which will match all numbers 0 through 9. And we also have \s, which will match all whitespace characters such as spaces and tabs. Third are groups. These are used to set up delineations using parentheses or square brackets. Groups can also be used to define and/or logic groups using the bar character. And lastly, we have quantifiers. These are used to identify a specific number or range of something. Common quantifiers are the plus sign, which will allow 1 or more of something, an asterisk, which allows 0 or more of something, a question mark, which allows 0 or 1 of something, and curly brackets, which will allow a specific number of something. Now that we've covered the important components of building regexes, we'll pass it over to Cooper, who will demo a few actual examples using RegExes 101. Cooper, over to you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. My name is Cooper Lang, and I'm Customer Advocate here at Milyli, and this is the introduction to regular expression. Moving on to specific regular expression examples, we'll be moving on to an email regular expression. The basic version, it will match all email addresses. You can break this regular expression down in 2 parts, before and after the @ symbol. It's kind of the middle ground of the email. As you can see, this is looking for any letters between A to Z, any digits between 0 and 9, and then common special characters you would see in email addresses. And it's using quantifiers we mentioned below, it's looking for this between 1 and unlimited times. So no matter how long the first half of this email is, it will still match. Moving on to the second half of the regular expression, after the @ sign, it starts about in the same way, looking for numbers and digits, and some special characters between 1 and unlimited times, followed by looking for the common .coms, .govs, etc., by looking specifically for a period, then only letters this time, and between 2 or 6 times. So this will cover the edus, ios, .coms, .nets, .shops, etc. Now to show you some other ways you can use this email regular expression. Firstly, we'll have excluding specific email addresses. So for this particular example, I'm excluding Cooper@Milyli.com and Jeffrey at Milyli.com using a concept called a negative look behind. This, as you can see, it still matches on the other emails as intended, but not these two that I have delineated as such. Another creative way you can use this email regular expression would be to include only certain email domains. As you can see, it still runs as the same way as the initial regular expression, but instead of looking for anything after the @ symbol, I'm only looking for Hotmail or Milyli, still following by the .com, .edu, etc. As you can see, it excluded the Gmail email address, but kept matching on the Milyli and the Hotmail ones. Moving on to another regular expression example, next will be social security numbers. As you can see, for this particular regular expression, covering social security numbers, we have accounted for whether they're delineated by hyphens or spaces. The structure of this is fairly simple, as is the structure of social security numbers. We're looking for 3 numbers followed by a space, 2 numbers followed by a space again, and then 4 numbers. Then it uses the Boolean OR to also cover the use case where there is hyphens. So in this one, it is looking for 3 numbers once again, followed by a hyphen or some common mistakes that are sometimes read as a hyphen, followed by another space, 2 numbers, a hyphen, and then followed once again by 4 numbers. This is the one we use for Excels because we can read Excels directly and there's not much error going on there. But as you can see, we also have a version of this regular expression for images. I will catch these 2 bottom examples. We added a certain amount of defensiveness for common HRCR errors, such as 2s being Zs, 8s being Bs, and other such common mistakes that HRCR could sometimes come across. Something cool you can do with the Excel version using redact groups is you can partially redact social security numbers. As you can see, this one will redact the first 5 numbers of the social security number, but leave the last 4 digits showing. And we have a version of this with the hyphens as well. Lastly, moving on to our final regular expression, this will be a regular expression that will redact all things after a certain word. For this example, we're using the word subject, and using redact groups once again, it will match on the word subject, followed by a colon, or some common HRCR mistakes for a colon, such as semicolon or period, a space, then it will redact whatever is found after that until the end of the line. This is used using a period, which for the .NET language of regular expression means match anything, and once again using our asterisk quantifier between 0 and unlimited times. You can see this can keep expanding, but if I was to go on to the next line, the match would stop. And that was our final example. Now I will pass it back to Jeffrey.
Thanks, Cooper. That wraps up our overview of using regular expressions with Blackout. We hope you're excited to make it like you like it. If you have any other questions or just need help writing a regex, please reach out to support@milyli.com or visit milyli.com/support. As always, thank you so much for watching.